Hi, I'm Mike Dapolito. I'm president of Omega Gamma Delta Fraternity Incorporated. Today is June 22nd, 2012, the 110th anniversary of our founding. I'm here at the Omega Museum and Meeting Room at 27 Han Street in Freeport, New York, and I'm going to give you a little tour. Come on in. This museum is dedicated to our three founders, Arthur E. Drop, Walter Dome, and Percy E. Drop. This plaque here says this museum is dedicated in honor of our founders' brothers, Arthur E. Drop, Percy E. Drop, and Walter Dome, on April 14th, 2012, by the Board of Directors of Omega Gamma Delta Fraternity. Joe Zabata, Alpha Psi 54 Chairman, Mike Dapolito, Beta Gamma 66 President, Bill Lowe, Beta Pi 75 Vice President, George Diega, Beta 60 Secretary, Ralph Ervelino, Beta Chi 74 Treasurer. Other board members include James Robertson, Alpha Chi 51, George Statler, Beta Chi Beta Sigma 75, Randy George, Beta 69, and Ben Montante, Alpha Psi 87. On this wall, we have some pictures of our prominent brothers. This, of course, is just a small portion of our prominent brothers. Some of our prominent brothers include Arthur Vanderbilt, who is president of the American Bar Association from Kappa Chapter. We have brother Al D'Amato, who's a United States Senator. Brother James Bornyak, who is chairman of the National Hospice Foundation. We have brother Robert Parenta, who is senior vice president of Laurel Corporation, Lockheed Martin. We have senators, we have mayors, we have ambassadors. Here's a picture of Harvey Moore, who's a brother who was instrumental with the Beatles. Brother Donald Halstad, who was the created the Johnny Walker Man. Brother Donald Murray, who starred opposite of Marilyn Monroe in Bus Stop. So this is just a small portion of our famous brothers. Over here on this wall, we have brothers in sports. Again, a small portion. One of our famous brothers is brother Vince Lombardi, who doesn't need an explanation. This is a telegram that's in the Washington Redskins Hall of Fame that says, "Dear Vinny, it's been a long time since I've been in touch with you. I graduated with you in 1934 from St. Francis Prep in Brooklyn. Go on, keep winning. P.S. We were fraternity brothers in Omega Gamma Delta, brother Jerry Murray." We have also other famous brothers. We have brother Ernie Vanderway, who's captain of the New York Knicks. We have famous football players, coaches, and the list goes on. Over here we have our famous Omega men at war. We have admirals. We have General Garrison Holt Davidson, who was the commandant at West Point at one time. Very, very long history, very, very dedicated Omega man, spoke at many Omega conventions. We have admirals. Most recent admiral is Admiral Joseph Hare from Alpha Sigma Psi Chapter. He was a deputy commander of the U.S. Atlantic Fleet. Brother General Emirates O'Donnell. And here's some pictures, recent pictures of some brothers that served in the military. This is a list of Omega men who gave their life to this country. This is a clipping from a recent clipping from New Jersey, where we have a brother whose name was Billy Duchess, who died in Vietnam, serving our country, and they renamed a street after him. Here's some brothers that are serving in Afghanistan, Iraq, current day. Over here on this wall, we have a list of our Exalted Chapter members. The Exalted Chapter was created by resolution of the Grand Council on April 3rd, 1926. The Grand Council elected its original members and stated that thereafter the Exalted Chapter be self-electing. Being elected to the Exalted Chapter of Omega Gamma Delta serves as the highest recognition that can be earned by an Omega man for service to his fraternity. Selection and election is made by the living members of the Exalted Chapter. The members meet annually and are elected for life. And there's about 75 brothers since 1902 that have been elected to the Exalted Chapter, and here are their pictures. On this wall, we have a list of our Grand Chapter officers, Grand Chapter past Grand Princepses who have served the fraternity since 1902. There's an assortment of newspaper articles that we made press on over the years. Again, what you'll see in this museum is just a very small portion of our archives and memorabilia. Here's an article that was in the Oceanside Beacon. Omega Gamma Delta wins Joseph Halpern Award for community service. This is an article from a New Jersey newspaper talking about Omega. There's a picture right on the front page of the newspaper of our Omega brothers. Again, over here we have some various articles, newspaper clippings, and now we'll step into the archive room. In this room we have assorted historians' books and Grand Chapter books from the fraternity. For example, we have a book here that is a Beta Chapter book. It's dated, the first entree in this book is dated 1910, January 12th, 1910. And it's the minutes from all the meetings through the years. Very historical book. We have books here from Alpha Chapter, list of our original members, historians' books from different chapters, picture albums. Here's some convention photos, 1938, assorted pictures on the wall. Over here we have the original charter that was made from the Grand Chapter when we started issuing charters. This charter, as you can see, is blank. There's no names filled in. This was the original charter, but you can see the date on it is 1910 blank. So you can see this charter dates back to the 1900s, early 1900s. We have a sweater on the wall here, an Omega sweater that was donated. Over here on this side, we have a sample of a brother's journey into membership. We have his a letter from the chapter inviting him to a meeting for an interview, and then we have his membership card. So everything here is dated 1954. Over here on this wall, sorry, this is a plaque with the names of the brothers who have donated services and funds to make this museum possible. It reads, "The creation of the Omega Gamma Delta Fraternity Museum and Meeting Room was made possible with archives collected from the following: Omega Gamma Delta Fraternity Inc., Al Fritz Alpha Chi 49, W. Tom Ward Beta 25, Phil Munson Alpha Psi 43, Mike Dapolito Beta Gamma 66, Bob Talton Upsilon Zeta 63, and donations from the following brothers." And there's a list of about 70 brothers here who over a period of just a few months raised enough money to put this museum together. This pin here goes back to the early 1950s. It was in disrepair at one time, and we have an Omega brother who was the set designer at Sesame Street. And he took the pin and redid the pin over, reconstructed it to see what you have here today. It's a beautiful Omega pin. It's in a lot of pictures. It went through a lot of conventions. In this room over here, in this part of the museum, we have several display cases. This display case shows an assortment of different Omega pins that we've used over the years, different styles. Some pins have jewels. Some of these pins that date back to the 1920s. There's pledge pins, there's collar pins, there's officer pins. These are the different patches that we've had, different style patches. The color patch from the 60s, a patch from the 50s, and there's a patch here that most brothers have never seen before that has Omega Gamma Delta written along the bottom of it. This is a medallion that we gave out for those of you who attended the 100th anniversary. This is our Omega medallion. So Omega decals. There's a Omega belt buckle, some other patches, and an Omega brass ornament. Okay, and in this display case we have several of our constitutions. These constitutions over the years, the first one's dated 1932, 1942, 1966, and 1991. These are our constitutions. The 1991 Constitution is the one we use today. And over here we have an assortment of memorabilia, some ribbons from conventions. Some of them are dated here in 1954, 1941, some pins from the conventions, invitations to the conventions. We have some cards that go back to Omega dances, 1960s, 1958, Omega Gamma Delta dances. This right here is a medallion that was on the front of Mayor Tom Ward, brother Tom Ward's car, who was the mayor of Valley Stream. This is a medallion that was on the front of his card. This is a pledge book. For those of you who had pledge books, you carried the pledge books around with you, and the brothers during the day would sign your book and determine whether they thought you were a good pledge or not. And you took that pledge book to the meeting with you, and what the pledge book said determined on how you were dealt with at the meeting. This page here is open to an entree that says, "Good dog, takes good orders and will make a fine brother," signed by Brother Jeff. In this display case we have some more memorabilia. This is an Omega tie from the late 1960s, an Omega deck of cards. This is an Omega banner that is very rare. There's only one or two in existence. This dates back to the mid-1950s. These are two paddles that were donated by a gentleman named Brother Carl Jones, who was a charter member of the Alpha Psi chapter. Alpha Psi chapter grew out of another fraternity called Sigma Lambda Alpha, and he made this paddle when he was in that fraternity, and then they became Omega, and he made this paddle when they became Omega. Brother Jones has donated these paddles, and he's had these paddles in his possession for over 75 years. This is a brass emblem of our fraternity. And here are some giveaways that were given away at conventions: Omega ashtrays, Omega matches, etc. Over here on this wall, we have an assortment of awards that were given to individual brothers who have donated them to the fraternity. This is, for example, Brother George DeYager. This says, "Presented to George DeYager for many years of hard work and dedication, presented by the Grand Chapter of Omega Gamma Delta Fraternity, May 6, 2006. This one here is to Brother Bob Talton. This one here is to Brother Michael Galanos from Pi Chapter 1925. This plaque here was awarded to Brother Andrew Milne from Beta Chapter in 1932. This is the Grand Princeps 100% Club that was awarded to brothers who gave outstanding service to the fraternity. This is the original one from 1970. Over here we have a proclamation from the town of Hempstead presented to the fraternity for its years of community service and academic achievements, outstanding social and athletics, to all the active brothers, signed by Francis Purcell and Alphonse D'Amato, who was also a brother. Here's a picture of Alphonse D'Amato presenting the proclamation to myself. Over here we have a little tribute to our founder, Arthur E. Drop. This is his story. For those of you who don't know, Brother Arthur E. Drop was a famous illustrator. He also created the modern version of the Michelin Man that you still see today. The Michelin Man won the award for the best logo of the century, and Brother Arthur E. Drop created that Michelin Man. Here are some assorted pictures of brothers who went to visit Brother E. Drop before he passed away. Brother Jerry Nardella, Brother Philip Feliciano, Nick Fica, Joseph Hare, who became a general, Myself, George Brush, Kenny Savick, all went to visit Brother Edrop before he passed away. And I'm sure there are many other brothers who visited him as well. Over here we have a display case, and we have an assortment of Omega memorabilia, of Omega mugs, how different mugs looked over the years with the emblem on it, Omega caps. We have a Banner Plan Trophy Award with the list of all the different chapters that won this trophy over the years, beginning in 1961. We have some gavels that were awarded that were used by presidents of the Grand Chapter. One of them is dated 1956. This is a book right here from Alpha Chapter that is in this display case, and the entree dates are October 1907, the minutes of the meeting. Here's a brass medallion. Here's one of the original plaques that each chapter was given back in the 30s. This is an Omega gunpowder paddle. I don't have to explain what it was used for, but the way it works is there's in the back of the paddle, there's a clapper, and a little bit of gunpowder was put in the clapper, and whenever it made contact, the back of the paddle clapped and the gunpowder shot off. Over here we have a plaque that is also a Banner Plan plaque that is dated 1953. Down here we have our membership certificate and the original plate that was used to make this membership certificate. And this is very interesting. When we started to grow really big back in the 1916-20 range, the way we kept track of brothers was electronic plates, electrograph plates. These are the original plates, some of the original plates that were used by the Grand Chapter to keep track of brothers. The first one you can see is Brother Percy T. Edrop, 1902. On this wall we have various convention pictures, big group pictures that were of the time. I guess that was the thing to do. Some of these pictures are dated early 1930s. These are big ballroom pictures. You can see the Omega Gamma Delta banner in the back in the room there. These pictures are all convention or Grand Chapter meeting pictures. Over here we have the original incorporation for the Incorporate Omega in New York State, dated 1916. It has the original receipt, dated May 18th, and this is the original certificate of incorporation signed by brothers Fred Kramer, Lewis Hyatt, John McArdle, Franklin Wild, DJ Clausenall, all brothers from Brooklyn. Over here we have a convention dedication plaque. The convention was dedicated to Brother Fred O'Kramer, Dr. Fred O'Kramer. It was the 39th convention, and it was dated April 19th, 1941. Here's another older picture of a chapter. This is a Banner Plan Award dated 1932. It ran from 1932 to 1945. This is the third place Banner Plan Award. Here's some various convention pictures. Here's an Omega windbreaker. I think this is from around the 1960s. Over here on this wall, we have an assortment of original charters that were either in our possession over the years or found its way back to us. Some of them are dated. This one is pretty interesting. We just got this one this week. A gentleman called me and said that he was cleaning out his attic. He just bought the house and he found this charter. He was not a member of Omega Gamma Delta, but he found this charter. It's the charter for Theta Chapter, dated 1932. We have Upsilon Zeta's chapter, 63. Chi Beta chapter, the college chapter of Georgia State. We have the Alpha Phi chapter, East Rockaway, dated 1937. Another 1937 Alpha Chi Hempstead. Beta Chi chapter, 1930s. We have here Pi chapter's charter dated 1914. We have Beta Chi Beta's chapter dated 1958, and Chi Alpha chapter, the Florida College chapter, of course, dated 2011. Up here on the top of the walls, we have an assortment of actual banners from our banner plan program that's been issued to chapters that have found their way back into our possession. This first one was permanently awarded to Alpha Chi chapter in 1955. It goes from 1949 to 1955. Here's another one from 1969 to 1974. Here's another one from 1975 to 1978. And 1979 to 1981. The banners were awarded permanently to the chapters that won the banner. On the top of the walls here, we have an assortment of Omega jackets and sweaters. You can see different chapters use different styles. There's an Omega jacket, Omega sweater with the colored patch. Over here on this wall, we have the Omega sweater with the gold patch. Another style, Omega jacket. This gold sweater is predominantly a New Jersey sweater. They wore the gold sweater with the black trim. And over here we have an Omega jacket with Omega Gamma Delta written horizontally. And now let's go into the next portion of the museum. Over here we have an assortment of pictures throughout the years. Some of these pictures go from the early 1900s to present day. Here we have some of the pledges, or dogs were required to wear this sign around their neck. It says, "I'm a dog of Omega." And here's actually an actual picture that was taken in the early 50s of two pledges that have this sign around their neck. These are all an assortment of pictures from over the years. Here's some samples of the Omega Observer newspaper that was put out for several decades. All different pictures. And on this wall we have archives from the fraternity over the years. Some of these are individual chapter archives. Some of them are archives from the Grand Chapter. Some of these date back to the early 1900s. They're very interesting to read. Wish I had the time to read them all to you. And over in this room, we have, and in this small hallway here, we have additional photos and archives of pictures just like the other room. Which leads us into our meeting space. And this is our meeting room. We have set up for our meetings. We have alumni chapter meetings. We have our annual corporate meetings in this room. So thanks for visiting the Omega Museum. We hope to see you at our Omega function in the future.